And I'm gonna go to the live stream button.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How's that look for everyone? I'm not sure what you can see. Can you see the whole canvas screen? Good
Yeah.
morning.
Yeah,
Or
go into
just the
present mode.
deck?
No, we can see
Okay.
your whole screen. Go into present mode.
Oh, boom.
There you go. That's perfect.
All right, I'm on the big screen. Good morning,
Okay.
everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning. All right, we're live on Facebook, so we'll jump right into it. I'm Jessica Nieto. I'm in California. I typically say California rather than exactly where I am. My business is pretty spread out. So I sell in Northern California. I have a team that spreads out all over Southern California. The reason is because we geographically do business sort of everywhere. I work primarily with investors, with listings and some acquisitions, depending on the season of the financial market, right? So I shared all of this in Charlotte. So I know only a couple of you were there. So I wanted to kind of go through this presentation the way I shared it there, because I felt like it's getting a little bit of its own legs and some foundation in terms of really getting comfortable talking about this 4C framework that I'm going to share with you today. So luck is what happened when preparation meets opportunity. This is one of my favorite quotes from a Roman philosopher. Personally, I've never met Seneca, but he seemed to have a lot of great wisdom. And I love this quote. Who's ever heard in their real estate career, wow, you're so lucky. Congratulations. Congrats on, all of your business or your success. You're so lucky. Has anyone ever experienced that? And I'm going to get everybody's buy-in during this too, because I don't want to be alone at 5:30. Okay, cool.
Ryan and I both say yes. Yes, we both
Okay,
have
good.
heard that.
And what's the first feeling? Like, what's the first thought that goes through your mind? Mine is always, not really luck. Kind of work to get here, right?
Oh yeah,
maybe
definitely.
blessed. Yeah, blessed, humble, grateful, not lucky, right? So one of the things that I believe is most important right now is to know that whatever you're working on behind closed doors, you're collaborating on, you're starting to get a little bit of momentum, but you're not quite getting the results. Remember, at some point, someone's going to say, oh, you're so lucky that you created success. I'm going to play this little video.
We can't, there's no volume.
Oh, glad you jumped in on that. We'll skip the video. I wanted to show you this video for two reasons. One is, this is me on a stage where I was completely scared. There are many things that we're all doing inside our real estate careers, whether it be going to our first listing appointment, be going to our first luxury listing appointment. Maybe we're just, training, doing a class for the very first time or the fifth time, or getting up on stage to share what's in our heart and what we have to give back. These are all scary things. And I just wanted to let you all know that all of the people that you see succeeding, all of the people that you see on big stages, everyone that has, 25,000 followers on Instagram, they're still working very hard to become a better version of themselves and to show up every day, no matter what's going on in their life. So this morning, that's part of my morning mantras and in my meditation is just really focused on whatever it is that I'm doing. It feels obviously, number one, much better if it's something that's completely aligned with what your passion is and what you're looking to accomplish, right? Does it go through that filter, which we're going to talk more about? Number two, are you surrounded by people that support and want to see you grow and want to see you win? And, being on stage at EXPCon for me was great. And everyone thought, you look so confident. But the first thing that I said to myself when I walked off stage was, next time I'm going to say something. So I introduced some people, I did some like rah stuff, but really what's been really challenging and fun to grow into has been going from somebody that knows a whole lot about being a top listing agent and selling a lot of real estate to getting into action of actually developing training that's unique to me and that actually is impactful. Because I believe when you have the opportunity to speak to others, to inspire others, to train with others, be in the room with the microphone in a room of you wonderful people at 8:30 in the morning, you have to share something that actually makes a difference and inspires change in a positive way, and that is good information. So let's get through this. Let's see if it'll let me go through. Sorry. It wants me to go all the way.
Come on in.
All right. So who is Jessica Nieto? I share this stuff just to create a little bit of a framework for you guys. I believe that at eXp Realty, whether you have a business coach, 5 mentors, you have someone that's helping you with mindset. You might have different coaches for different things. You might have a coach at your gym. Anna's self-motivated. She's hitting the treadmill while doing training in the morning, right? But we all have different trainers for different things. I truly believe that at eXp Realty that you definitely should be paying attention to practitioners if you're looking to grow your real estate business. We might have people helping us with mindset and keeping us motivated. We might have people helping us do different things in our business, a financial person. We might have someone helping us get life insurance and coaching us on how to invest our funds that we're making and all the revenue we're making. But ultimately, if you're looking to develop your skills and become a top producer and sell more real estate and make more money and generate more revenue, you definitely want to get around practitioners. So my numbers, I closed 44 listings in the first quarter of 2024. We've got some pretty good numbers year over year. But the things at the top are more about who I am. So if you meet me, I'm not the type of person that leads with my production. In fact, I've made a lot of friends at eXp that were later surprised that I do sell a little real estate. So being a relationship cultivator and master connector, if I boil all of my success down when I became interested in giving back through training and working with other realtors to develop their skills, and I boiled it all down to how I got so lucky, right? It all came down to a few things, which was being a master at connecting people, not just a networker, but connecting people, and cultivating relationships. Who here agrees that we're not in the business of real estate today to just generate leads, but we're actually looking to generate conversations and build deeper connections, right? I'm going to bug everybody too. Is everybody, oh, now I got some more camera people. I'm going to try to pin it to camera. There we go. Now I can see some faces. Amanda, what would you say to that? Oh, you're on mute. Sorry.
Okay, sorry, there's 2 Amandas on, so I just want to make sure you're talking about me.
Amanda Jones, thanks.
Yes, hello, good morning. I think that's
Right.
where it all kind of resonates, is the ability to connect and to cultivate those relationships, but not just, we're here to help people every single day, but ultimately it really lives with being able to cultivate and connect folks. So
100%, 100%. I know a lot of real estate agents, especially like new ones that come into the business, or even new ones that are, or agents that are looking to restructure their business. I have a lot of agents that come onto my team for some reason. I attract a lot of agents that come from a really amazing career previously, like they were in marketing, or they were on radio, or maybe they were a nurse. They just come from a career that's like stands on its own as successful. And they come into real estate and they think they're brand new, right? And I always tell them, like, go back to the place where you felt really confident and comfortable with what you were talking to people about every day. And, what did that feel like? You want to have that same level of engagement, and then continue to be more excellent at it as a real estate agent. So who here also wanted the bar to be raised in real estate? We've been screaming about that for years, right? Everybody. So the bar has now been raised. We're going to continue to see headlines of things that we cannot change. some things that our company and eXp Realty is working hard every day to lead the way in, and to actually create lasting change and tools and develop things that can help us through all of this. But in the meantime, we have the opportunity to stay completely focused on the things that we can control. And the things that we can control are building deeper connections with the people that like, know, and trust us already, and adding more people to that pipeline, more people that we can deepen those connections with. Work on our skill. So this came up yesterday in a conversation, like, I don't like calling communication a soft skill because it makes it sound like it's not important. But empathy and communication, I believe, are the two things that, no matter how great you think you are about communicating and how prepared you feel for a listing appointment, or how successful your open house was, or how great your follow-up is, I promise you it could be better. And imagine if it could be better, what type of results you would get. If you get one appointment out of, however many calls, or however many listings signed out of however many listing appointments you go to, imagine if you were to become even more excellent at converting those. Does everyone agree we can all be better? I know I can. So I wanted to walk you through my 4C framework. This is something deeply personal to the transformation that I had in my real estate business. When I really boil it down over the past, so a little bit more about me. I was licensed in 2013. Prior to becoming licensed, I had experienced thousands of real estate sales through an auction company that I worked at. I was underwriting properties on the daily. What do they rent for? What will they be worth once we do the rehab? What would be the estimated rehab? We ran teams out in the field, literally looking at every property that was going to go for sale that day, whether it actually went for sale or not. We were running title. We were, looking through windows, knocking on doors, calling the short sale agents, asking them, is the seller reasonable? Are they willing to leave? All that crazy stuff. And it was real estate boot camp for me, right? I learned a lot about the transactional side of real estate. The numbers are, one of my favorite things. But for me, there was nothing really personal, right? There was no real personal interaction that was critical to our success in the office. And in 2013 or 2012-ish, when everything really started to dry up and we didn't have hundreds of auction properties online or thousands of properties, selling each year at the auction steps, I went and got my license. And when I was licensed in February of 2013, I remember sitting down at the desk at home. I had my laptop and I had my, pen and my notebook and my cell phone. And I remember thinking, okay, I know a lot about real estate and I know nothing about building a real estate business. What am I going to do? I didn't have any peer groups or masterminds at the time. I didn't know anyone in real estate except for all the investors that I was talking to daily. And so the first thing I did was, can you guys hear me okay, by the way? Because my mic's a little far away. Okay, perfect.
Yes.
The first thing I thought to do was to pick up the dang phone and start making some calls to the people I knew, right? And so fast track built some success in the first couple of years of my real estate career. Were fabulous. I was very much nose to the grindstone. I've always been a hard worker. I've had a job since I was 14. But what I realized after the first couple of years of feeling not burnout, but just sort of, constantly in the hamster wheel, was that I wasn't building a business. I was just creating another job for myself. And, the thing is one thing I love about realtors and the opportunity that we have is it's like no other. As entrepreneurs in real estate, we actually have the opportunity to learn how to generate revenue. Most people wake up every day and they actually generate revenue for other companies, but it's by showing up for a job. We wake up in the morning and we have the ability with our skills to generate revenue, which is, just amen to that being a superpower, right? But what I know to be true is that many realtors do not yet know how to generate revenue. And that's going to be something that really changes, I believe, I know drastically with teams and with solo agents as some of these changes. Now, many of you are in North Carolina, so you've been working with buyer broker agreements for a long time, right? Is that correct? So I'm not going to go too far down pounding that message because you're all very prepared for what's coming. Does anyone want to jump in and just kind of give me some feedback on how long you've been in the business? Anybody want to jump in? A couple people? How many years in the business?
I've been doing it for 9 years almost.
Hi, Ashley. Good morning.
Hi.
9 years.
Yes.
Yeah, congrats. Right.
Mhm.
We're here.
Oh yeah. Yeah. 4.5 years on a transaction coordinator licensed, and then I guess almost 5 years selling, 4.5 years selling.
I love that. I've always been obsessed with contracts. I love, love anyone that understands contracts and compliance. Anyone else want to jump in? Anna, how long have you been in the business? Is Anna here? She's not here. I'm going to pick on someone else.
Looking on
How
the
about
side.
you, Kat? How about you, Kat or Stephanie? Shante?
1 month for me. 1 whole month.
1 month. Who is that?
Amanda.
Hi, Amanda.
2 years.
Amanda, what do you come from? What?
So I come, like you were mentioning
Where
a
have
little
you from?
earlier. Yeah, no, happy to jump in. So I come from a business management background, and I was previously in a chief role as a communications officer. So that's where I'm coming from. So what you were talking about a bit earlier really resonates with me, and I'm a contract and compliance girl. So love those nitty gritties of the contracts. So
Amanda,
excited
if
to
you
move
were,
that into real estate.
yeah, so if you were sitting on the other side of yourself this morning and you had just said everything you just said, what you would reply to yourself with would be, you're hired.
Thanks.
Right? And I really want you to feel that power.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's nothing, and I'm going to have Ashley jump in and help us with this one. Ashley, is there anything else that really truly matters that she needs to learn about real estate that's going to make or break her in this first year of building a business in real estate?
I think it's just about relationships, and it's about knowing where you want to go and not knowing how you're going to get there. So you say, hey, I want to, sell 20 homes. I want to make impact this way. And you just let it happen. You do the activities, but you don't know where it's coming from. So that I just was talking to a bunch of new agents at my office, and I'm like, you can't compare your day 1 to my day 2000. Like, I've been doing this for 9 years. So it's like, you just have to run your own race and be open to the possibilities of wherever those referrals come from, wherever the business comes from. Don't feel like you have to make all the calls or do it the way that everyone else is. Like, if I could give anyone that piece of advice, I think we get stuck in that comparison. And so that was like my mission.
Ashley, I love that. And the greatest thing that I ever heard is from one of my mentors about clarity, which is that clarity is an until action, meaning you seek clarity and you take action. So what can happen is that people could get paralyzed with trying to seek clarity on what they're going to do. And it becomes this cycle of continuously seeking clarity. Some people will say the opposite, but I think clarity as an until action really defines it. Some people will say, well, you've got to first take action and then find clarity. So I did that for the first part of my career. And then when I realized that I was just creating myself a job for every day and I wasn't really working on my ultimate goal of what I wanted to create in my life, which is, like you said, Ashley, which is creating impact and impacting people. And when I realized that, that's where I was able to get clarity. And when I tell you it didn't happen it wasn't that long ago that I found this, was when things really transformed for me. And what I learned is that when I actually spent the time to sit and reflect and really think about not just what I think I want right now, like write that whole list out. Like if you were to write a list of 50 things that you want, you might get stuck at like 30. And the reason for that is that everything that pours out of you when you take the time to reflect on what you really want, like everything that you want, you'll sort of start to dry up and run out, because everything that you already believe that you want will just kind of come out, right? You just kind of keep writing, like, I want to do this. I want to go to Africa. I want to experience this. I want to do that. I want to travel there. I want to have this. I want to know this person. I want to create this. I want to build this. All of those things are going to come out. And when you run out of the things that you believe that you want, that's where it gets hard. That's where the work comes in. And that's where you start to get clarity on the things that really matter to you. So if you had all of everything that you think you wanted, then what would you want? If you were sitting this morning with like $1 billion gajillion dollars and world peace and everything else, what would you do with your day? That for me is clarity. Because then every single little instance, any little question that comes out throughout my entire day, I'm so crystal clear on whether something is a yes or a no for me, or I need more information, that I'm able to say yes, no. If I look at my calendar, anyone that's on my calendar or anything that I'm doing like this morning, the answer is always a resounding yes, no, thank you so much, or I need more information. And that's what truly starts to change about when people say, hey, I need help with my time. We don't need help with our time. We need help really getting clarity on the things that are a yes or a no, that are in alignment with what we're doing, period. I can take absolutely any agent that comes into, that's joining my team, and their first thing typically as a new agent, you kind of come in, there's no gravity. You're like, woo, I've got all this time. Finally, I'm an entrepreneur. And then you have no gravity. And seeking clarity until you find it, and then taking action. Commitment is the next one. I believe that all of you have a great level of commitment to yourselves, because you're here this morning to be better. Even if you're 9 years in the business and you're training others, that's like me. I'm usually in lots of rooms where people maybe they're not even selling lots of real estate, but I'm always vetting the rooms that I put my people in, right? So if I, for example, want to help my team really grow our expired pillar or niche, right? Like, we're really leaning into expireds right now. I'm not going to tell them, hey, go and take this expired class. This guy's teaching expireds. I want to know, is this guy actually getting results? Like, can he show me proof? Can he show me his numbers? If we're going to, if it's YouTube or whatever it is, I want to make sure that whoever they're listening to, whatever information we're taking in, that I know that it's good information, and that it's something that we can actually learn or grow from, and that we're not wasting our time. So commitment is the next one. Don't take action on anything just to give it a try, unless I believe that, yes, there's risk involved. Like you said, Ashley, like sometimes it's doing things without knowing exactly how you're going to get there, 100%. But I believe that we all also believe, would you agree, Ashley, that we are intentional and we are preparing for the things that we're taking action on, right? That's some of the stuff that you don't see behind the scenes from people in their business. As real estate agents, it doesn't always seem like an open playbook. We see a lot of the results. We might hear a little bit about some of the challenges that they've had and how they overcame them. But the details, the details is really what comes into play with what they're implementing throughout the time that they're not on camera, or the things that they don't share, right? So if you want to win, you must move at the speed of implementation. I showed a little bit of that. I was going to show that video earlier. The reason why I wanted to show that to you is that when you move at the speed of implementation, you're moving at the speed of taking action to complete something and to keep moving forward with it. And if you're not, it's who's ever heard someone say, yeah, I'd really like to write a book one day. That's one of the most typical ones you hear, right? I'd love to write a book one day. Why later? I would love to do a podcast. So I said that on December, it was like about December 15th, I believe it was. I know this because I had looked at the dates a couple times so that I could share them. I told my coach, I said, hey, I'd really love to do a podcast. I think it would be a good broadcast channel for me. I have so many great relationships and I'd love to share, share more about them. And EXP is doing this radio show. And they said, if you have a podcast, I could have my podcast on the radio show. I thought, oh, that's pretty cool. So I told my coach, hey, I think I want to do a podcast. And he said to me, Jess, do you want to do a podcast? And I said, well, I think so. He said, no, with absolute conviction, do you want to do a podcast or not? And I said, yes, I want to do a podcast. So this is what moving at the speed of implementation means. When I hung up from that call, I wrote down like 10 or 12 people that I wanted to feature on the podcast. Then I sent them a message asking them if they would be a guest on my podcast. And they all said yes. Because people love to be invited. They love to share their story. And then I reached out to my admin that does some copywriting and a little bit of video editing, like creating reels. And I thought, do you think you can edit a podcast? And she said, yeah. I said, okay, you need to read this book, that book. And it was like, that quickly we read the book Fascinate, which is a fabulous book. You should all read this book for anything you're creating, whether it's your marketing, your branding. Fascinate by Sally Hogshead, Hogshead. In fact, this is, there's two versions. This is the one that took her 3 years to rewrite the first version. This is the one you want. So it's the, I could share it with you all later, but I always am bad about that sometimes and then nobody gets it. So look up Sally Hogshead and make sure you get the most recent version. So we read that. And then I identified 5 of my favorite podcasts that I really love. And then I worked on exactly like what the format would look like to get started. And then that's where the action took place. Sometimes that's where you'll get stuck. Like, well, and I'm that way. I can, try to perfect things to a point where I'm not really taking as much action as I should in the past. Because then I think, well, I want it to be excellent. Your second one could be even more excellent. But if you don't do your first one, you don't have a podcast, right? So here's what happened. It's the holidays. It's December 27th. And I'm going to start recording my first podcast. I recorded 10 episodes between the 27th and my birthday, January 6th. We edited them and we released 10 episodes on January 31st. And I've been doing one every single week or releasing one every single week. And I record 2 to 3 a week. They're 45 minutes. I don't go beyond that. So what is that? An hour and a half, 2 hours and 15 minutes a week. I've got a consistent podcast and now I'm working on my YouTube channel. The reason why I share that example is to show you that we have the responsibility to be able to clearly articulate to ourselves what it is we are committed to and what we will take action on. And if we have that answered, like the rest becomes easy, right? Communication, Amanda, you could probably teach me a lot about this. Would everyone agree that we were not the best communicators younger, or that there's something we got better at? Is anyone that's off camera want to jump in that can come onto the mic? Miranda, Sue, Anna, Michelle, Kristen, Annette. It's 5:30 over here, ladies. Who's going to help me out?
What do you need us for?
Stephanie, who is that speaking?
Well, that's Allison Greco, but anybody else that wants to jump in, I'm here for you. What do you want?
What do you want? All right. So would you agree that at some point you were not as good of a communicator as you are now?
Absolutely.
Allison's a 10. Allison's a 10, always.
Allison's a 10. For me personally, I was awful in many ways, like too loud, not a great listener.
All
right?
of the above still to this day. Yeah.
All the above. Oh, I'm sorry. What did you say? I was too busy, thinking about what I was going to respond with. I believe most all of you in this room are great communicators. So, and you have the commitment to be here. So that's fabulous. So you're doing great. But I want to encourage everyone to really look at where is it that it's a feeling, right? Where is it in the listing appointment or on the calls, or where is it that I could grow? Where do I feel like I could get a little bit better, or maybe get a better result? Or if I missed an opportunity. Oh yeah. I mean, if you have one, yeah.
My biggest one is I need to be more curious. I need to come from curiosity. I need to ask questions. I believe that I know the answer to most things, and it comes off a little egotistical. And so I'm like, let me solve your problem. So I need to be more curious.
Thank you for being vulnerable and transparent, because we can all be better at that. We've all heard, be more curious, ask more questions. And it sounds great in theory. It even sounds a little easy, right? Oh, you're moving to Texas. Why are you moving to Texas? Oh, I've got my grandkids there. Oh, how old are your grandkids? Like that is not quite curious enough, right? In my opinion, it seems curious, but that's really not the answer. There is a neurological thing that happens when people are synchronized. Like, it's a feeling. They've done tons of studies on this. And I share this one other book. I don't know if I have it here. Yep, I do. It's my favorite right now. Super Communicators. Have you read this one, Amanda? Yes, of course you have. All right. By Charles Duhigg. How to Unlock the Secret Language of Connection. This guy's a genius. And you can learn so much from this book. One of my favorite things about this book, though, is that he's digging into he relates it to stories and studies that are unrelated to real estate. And that's something
Jessica,
important.
what was the name of that book again for everybody?
It's Super Communicators.
Super Communicators.
Yeah, because you can make super communication your superpower. The super communicators of the world run the world, right? It's like why everyone is wearing their Swiftie sweatshirts and paying a bunch of money for concert tickets. That's why when Nike comes out with a new running shoe, like Don Hobbs always says, like when Nike comes out with a new running shoe, they don't make calls like, hey, Bob, you got to come down to the store. We've got brand new Nikes in the shop. Nobody does that at Nike. You just go buy running shoes from Nike, right? So the communicators rule the world. And if you can create and you can harness people's attention through the way that you're communicating, you can sell them anything. And of course, you achieve that through omnipresence, right? But the communication is how you harness their attention. But one thing I wanted to share about this book is that sometimes we have to look outside of the real estate industry to find people that are really amazing at their craft and to learn from them as well. So make sure that you're doing that. But one of the things that Charles talks about in the book is how you can really prepare for conversations. And that's where we practice and that's where we get better. So if you're to, after you go to a listing appointment, ask for feedback, what do you do when you get the feedback? Oh, they hired her because she's more experienced. Okay, I'm moving on. Why is it that they thought she was more experienced? Maybe she isn't. I recently, I actually did a YouTube video on this week. If everyone could give me a huge applause, my first 10-minute YouTube video. I've been wanting to do YouTube for years. So hopefully it's my most horrible video I've ever done. No, it was a good video, but the point is that I talked about the 4 reasons why a seller weeks ago hired me instead of someone else. I couldn't believe it. These sellers actually gave me 4 reasons why they hired me. I've never experienced that in my life. And they called all of the other agents and told them not all 4 reasons, but actually let them know why they had hired me. So they decided to tell the other agents that it was because I had more experience. But the reason why they—
Do you have the link? Do you have your link to your YouTube that you can throw it in the chat box and your podcast and stuff? We'd love to do that.
100%.
Perfect.
Absolutely. So the reason why they decided to hire me, they said, was that it was because I was the only person that took the time to get to know their family. And the coolest part was that I was on Zoom with them. There were 5 family members, and they were all on Zoom in the same conference room together. So we had to get like through the awkwardness of like the, you know, the echoing, and everybody could hear, can everybody see? It was actually internally, I was having a little bit of a chuckle with myself, because I thought this is about as awkward as it would get if I let it, but I'm going to control the energy that we have in the room and try to make it fun. But the other 2 real estate agents had actually physically been in the room with them before they got on Zoom with me. So I believe that even if you're virtual, you can really bring, you can show up 110% with the energy that makes people feel comfortable with you. And that's something that we can all do that we don't really ever analyze as often as we should, how it relates to our communication style and the impact we can make on the energy that we bring to the room. And preparing for the conversation, which is what I do with the agents on my team, is I focus more on preparing them for the conversation that they're going to cultivate and create, and the conversation and the connection that's going to happen, than we do talking about the listing presentation or the comparables. Like, that's all stuff we work on. But when we walk through the whole conversation and what could come up, they feel prepared. And if you really walk through that whole cycle of like, oh, what if they ask me this? Okay, well, this is what I'll do with that. And I, of course, always teach that in practice, that if I don't have the answer, 100% someone will love you when you say, you know what? I want to do a little research and make sure I get you the best answer for that question. It seems super simple, but when you get in the practice of saying that and it rolls right off your tongue, they're like, she's going to work for me. I don't question that at all, right? Another thing I want to tie into communication, because it's a little bit different than just the way that we're having conversation with people, is that when you communicate to people through your brand, through your messaging, the way you show up online, remember that until you build authority around a subject, a really simple, easy thing that you could do is tie it to an undeniable truth. So for example, when you send out your newsletters or you send a letter or something like that, when you communicate a powerful message or like some kind of like triggering type of fact or a statistic or something that will create emotion within someone, make sure that you're tying it to an undeniable truth. So for example, you could cite a reference. Hey, did you know that the #1 reason why people move is to be closer to their family based on blah, 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 you know, real trends like this, you know, whatever percent of people moved, whatever. Same thing as realtors. We see so many headlines. If it says like 87% of realtors will be out of the business in 5 years, you're like, okay, well, who said that? But if you lead with that, typically it's going to be more effective because people feel like, okay, I don't know her yet, but she's at least tying this to something that I trust. This is just a quick example of things that come up in this book that are really helpful tools. They can also be great tools if you have a team. You could sort of pick things out of this and create activities around how to just become better at communication. Obviously, asking questions. We talked about curiosity. Asking questions is great, but perception is reality. So we might ask questions and exchange information and not truly understand each other because we're having a different conversation, or we believe the person is having a certain kind of conversation and we're having another kind of conversation and we're not really on the same page. So make sure you summarize what you heard, especially like this listing appointment that I was in, for example, there were 5 people there. So when you feel like somebody might feel a little bit left behind, it's typically, if you should be able to feel that when you're paying attention. It might be because they have an unanswered question. And you never know, like, unless you really know, that might be the decision maker in the room, but they're paying attention. It's like the person that you see on Yelp, they give a really bad review of a restaurant. And then you go in and you're like, oh, they also hate the place where they got the oil lube and filter, and they didn't like the dry cleaner, and they don't like it. But if you're at the restaurant and you're working as the server and you ask the question, how's everything going? And everyone's like, it's good. You don't actually know until they write the review that they hated the meal or they didn't like the service. But typically, if you're really paying attention, you can feel the energy from someone and you can ask follow-up questions. I don't know if that example is the greatest, but does that resonate with everyone just in terms of like really getting buy-in from people? Amanda, what would you share about that?
Spot on. The idea that you keep asking the questions in the room with the decision makers or whomever you're speaking to until you make sure everybody's on the same page is key. And that's helped in the past, not only in my previous roles, but also with my new career in real estate, is that somebody might sit back and shake their head, but you really want to make sure you're getting everybody's buy-in and feedback so you can move that to the close.
Love that. Yeah, absolutely. And through the listing process, so we have the initial rapport that we're building. That's like from the time that we first talk to them, but let's talk when we first show up at the listing appointment. So we're building rapport with people. That's the walk up. That's like when you're walking up, are you feeling prepared for the listing appointment? Is your energy confident? Are you smiling and looking up at them? Or are you kind of like fumbling around with your keys and getting your cell phone in your pocket and grabbing your papers out of the car? How you're showing up with your energy. The way that you shake hands with people. I know a lot of change since COVID, like kind of the way that we interact with people and physically, but the way that you're shaking the hand. For me, it's, a genuine, it's not like, oh, hi, nice to meet you. It's like really show up genuine and confident, right? So it's that first contact. It's right when you walk in the house, it's the first thing you say, may I set my things down on the kitchen counter? You're showing confidence. You're leading with where you want to end up and have that conversation about the listing. And then it's who's going to give me the tour, right? Who's going to give me the tour? That way you can kind of identify who's the decision maker, who's the one that runs the household. I mean, we've all heard this stuff, but when you take it out of the scripting and the process in which things happen, and you focus a bunch more on the part that relates to the energy that you have when you do those things and you take those actions and you say those things and you make those physical movements and you focus more on every little move that you're making. That's what I think that we're not training new real estate agents on enough. The next part in the listing appointment is where you're going to review everything. You're going to talk about their expectations. What results they're looking for. And when you're reviewing those things, people can feel whether or not you're really receiving it, and you can feel them and they feel seen. What happens when somebody actually feels seen? We've all heard that before. Like, you want people to feel seen. Like, okay, what does that mean? Like, how do I create that feeling? It's very simple. When you walk into the coffee shop in the morning and you ask the person, hey, how are you? And then you literally pause and wait for them to respond. You'll be surprised how many people seem surprised that you do that. And the energy that is exchanged when they're like, oh, thank you so much for asking. I'm doing great. How are you? That's where you receive the energy back. I'm in California. Now, y'all in Charlotte are, I would say, have much more of a hospitable spirit than people that I work with every day in Los Angeles. Maybe I'm wrong. If you all want to prove me wrong, let me know. But this is very much how a conversation goes when an agent calls me. Hi, Jessica, how are you? This is Bob. I'm talking about your listing on 123 Main Street. Hey, is it still available? Dude doesn't care how I'm doing, right? But if you're calling an agent and you're like trying to build rapport with them because you want to get your offer accepted, this is much more how it should go. Hey, Jessica, good morning. How are you? Seems surprising, right? Everyone's like, oh, it's a big deal. So just paying attention to leaving pause for people and really genuinely connecting in a way that you know they can feel. The best way to know if they can feel it is that you feel it. Like you feel like you've got good ground with these folks. All right, so we're gonna wrap up and move a little bit forward out of communication. Does anyone have any questions or want to break down any other part of the listing appointment? All right, we're gonna move on to community. Community is the number one thing for me in terms of where I thrive and my personal fulfillment in working in this business. There's many different ways that each of us, if we spoke would about community, would define like the first thing that comes to your mind about community. Mine might be different than someone else's, but altogether they would have a few things in common, is that we cannot be in this business alone. Right? None of you are in this business alone because you have each other. You're here in this Empower Mastermind. You're together this morning, sharing thoughts and ideas and masterminding together to go out and have a really successful day in real estate. But not every agent feels like they're in community with others. And even if some of you are new in this room, or you're like Amanda's 1 month in real estate, you're committed to taking action and being in rooms with people to learn the things you need to know to be better and more excellent as a real estate professional. But I guarantee you that there are some of you maybe that are feeling like maybe you don't quite belong, or that you really wish that you had, more community, or that you were connected better. So I just wanted to share with you that for me personally, it's when you take accountability for the fact that you have something that's missing and you can go out and seek it and find it and plug into it. One of the things that I did was I created, like you all did, is you create your own group. If you don't feel like the group that you're in is really creating that energy and that space that you need to thrive, I created my own mastermind on Monday. I have it every Monday at 4:00. People love to be invited to things. So just remember that you can create community on your own. You don't always have to just fit into the one that is already available. Being in community with people obviously is one of the greatest ways to build a real estate business as well. We don't have tons of time, so I'm going to skip through community. I wanted to talk about energy exchange a little bit more. Does anyone recognize Michael Valdez, of course, right? If you haven't been at EXPCon, maybe you haven't seen John Chai yet, but you should check him out. It's TSAI. These are people that have like big energy. Every time that you're around them, you feel better. I bet everyone in this room, I believe I could say this with 100% certainty, that every one of you in this room this morning know at least one person that you can call. And when you hang up with them, you think, I feel better. Right? And we all want to be that person for somebody. And did you know that you can actually make more friends in 2 weeks than you can in 2 years by making it about them and not you? I think that's fascinating when you think about it in that perspective, but it's true. And so this all ties back to those curious questions. Nobody cares right now. There is a listing, a seller right now that hasn't quite decided to sell, but they're thinking about it. And they are not sitting there wondering about how many houses their next real estate agent has. They don't care. Right? They don't care. All they care about is the problem and the pain of whatever they're going through that is like creating that reason, that motivating factor to sell, that change that they need to make. And so our job is to help them find a solution for that problem. Like, I really need to be closer to family. Like, this is killing me. I hate that I've only seen my grandbaby one time in the last 3, or, one time in the first year of his life. Sucks. Not a great time to get a divorce. Like, we have this great interest rate. We've got to sell the house. They don't care how many houses you sold. So lead with things that are about them. And one of the greatest ways that you can do this is by being a storyteller, right? So case studies in your pre-listing package are fantastic. Telling people, market validation is great, like something you know about the neighborhood. So it validates that you know about the neighborhood. Sharing the stats about the market, that's one thing. Maybe there's obviously you want to tell them about you and your team, so they know that you have a support team, right? All the other people that touch the transaction. But more than anything, you want to show case studies as it relates to different pain points that sellers have, because then they're actually going to have a feeling about how you can help them solve their problem. Hey, these are my clients. They didn't believe that they could purchase a home. We connected them with one of our trusted lenders. We found a program where we were actually able to, help them with the down payment. We were able to successfully sell their home and concurrently close with their new purchase as the kids moved out and they downsized so they could buy another condo where the kids were going to college, whatever it is, and created revenue, with that condo that the kids are living in, rather than, paying rent every month for college or college housing. Different things like that. Like these, this is my client. She moved to Texas to be closer to the grandkids. And, it was a big transition. And one of the things that made it so easy for her for that transition was that we did this, this, and that. That's where you can point out sometimes like the things that differentiate you from another realtor, but in the form of a story, because that's where people can really experience like, oh, wow, she changed a life. Like when you tell people, oh, I've sold 10 houses in this neighborhood in the past year, that's not as impactful, right? This is a little QR code. I think it actually right now just goes to my link tree, but you can check out my podcast is there as well. And I can shoot over the links to you all. I just want to open it up to any questions or just any feedback, any nuggets. Try to share my screen. And thanks everyone who's on Facebook. Appreciate y'all. Wish you could be in the room.
Just
How about you, Anna?
It was good. I mean, I think I'm guilty of it as well. I don't have any natural curiosity, and I've learned that about myself. I just don't. I don't have natural curiosity, and so anyone that resonates with that, I can tell you. Actually, Tina Call gave me this script. I have to literally out loud be like, I'm just so curious. So you'll find me in conversation saying like, I'm just so curious all the time, because I have to literally like train my brain to like, nope, be curious, Anna, like dig the questions. I've always like done really well in conversation. But that was me speaking too, not receiving. And so if the idiot on the call don't have that natural curiosity, I always envy Ashley Bomarito. She's a wanderer. So she'll always ask questions. I just naturally don't. And I actually, it's a frustration of mine on the working genius scale. That W frustrates me. So just literally working that in to my verbiage of like, I'm so curious. I write it out in text messages. I just go back to that all the time. So for those of you that live in that place, maybe that script will help you.
Oh, I absolutely love that. And you're also blessed to be in Tina Call's group and talk about being around a practitioner and someone that leads. Absolutely phenomenal. So super excited to be all around you this morning. This book would be a lot of fun for you though, Anna. You'd probably love this, is Fascinate. So Fascinate with Sally Hogshead. Another good book that I've read a couple times that you want to check out is Success in Your Sphere.
Oh, okay.
Success in Your Sphere. This was written by the co-founder and the CEO of Contactually. And it's all about leveraging the power of relationships. There's a million books out there, but if we go back to, doing that gap analysis, that's where we get clarity. Like what part of my process, what part of my business, what part of my conversations or whatever it is that I feel I could be a little bit better at. And then who are the people I want to listen to? What are the tools that I want to leverage? What is the tech that I could leverage to make that better? There's no shortage of really great people to listen to with great information at eXp Realty. but you can also look beyond. So just remember, you know, go outside of just real estate practitioners, like who are the top CEOs, who are people that lead with empathy and curiosity, and then follow and learn from those people and their styles. So thank you everyone so much. For you that weren't on camera, I am grateful to see your real estate headshots this morning, and I'm glad that you're here. Stephanie, I feel like I've seen you somewhere before. Great to see you.
Yeah, I like to feel famous and important, so that's cool.
You
I appreciate-
are. You
You just
are
made my day
world.
with that comment, so just makes me feel special.
She's a celebrity. Stephanie's a celebrity.
Yeah, I'll send you
We
my
all
autograph later just in case one day it's worth something. You never know. I might be
if
on like
all of you
Mug
wanna-
Faces.
Love that. Well, yeah, your actual in real life video is a great real estate headshot. You could just screenshot it and throw it on your real estate sign. You're ready. Like if you can follow me on Facebook and then add me as a friend. So follow and then friend. If you could, please, so we can stay in community together. Shantae, Tracy, Sue, Gail, great to have you. Have a wonderful day, everyone. Thanks for having me here. I so appreciate it. I'm
Thanks,
grateful to be of
Jessica.
service. Thank
No,
you.
I appreciate it. I love our community and our brokerage, and that we have no borders. And thanks for getting up so early.
I'm super awake now. I'm ready. I'm ready for anything.
Perfect. Go crush the day. Bye, everyone. See you guys next week. And we'll
Awesome.
have on YouTube soon.
Awesome.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye, everyone.